Welcome to another Vixa Vaughn romance audiobook. We're excited to have you join us. Whether you're into second chance romance, enemies to lovers, fake marriage, or any other trope, Vixa Vaughn offers you the chance to escape into stories that will carry you away into heart-pounding romance and gripping characters. While we want to get you the full experience, some parts of this audiobook are abridged to stay abreast of YouTube's community guidelines. If you want the full experience, you can always head to Vixa Vaughn Romance and use code VIXA40 to get the unabridged version of this audiobook for 40% off. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Chapter 1. Bob. I watched the steady stream of people going in and out of the local diner, EJ Easy Eats. I know hanging around in my truck looks like some top-notch stalker behavior, but I don't want to go inside and spend 3 hours sitting by myself and thinking about my predicament. That's why I decided to do that in my car instead. I don't also want to hang around the ranch or talk to Thomas about the situation. The guy talks less than me, and I know I don't talk a lot. Besides, this is my problem. I have to be the one to solve it. When my dad died of cancer last year, I went through such a hard time. It wasn't a quick death. Dad still lived with me for a good 2 years before finally succumbing to the sickness. Still, when Dad actually did die, it took me by surprise. The grief was too strong that when it was time for his will to be read, I didn't bother to fully listen to it. Frankly, I couldn't give a single care about it when I just put my father under the dirt. My sister lived on the other side of the continent, being a career woman of her own. She inherited some money and Dad's estate in Wisconsin. She stayed for a bit after Dad died, but with her work, she had to fly back anyway. Linda has never been much into the country living and preferred the bustle of the city. My mother was long gone, dying of a heart attack 10 years before. I still can't fully wrap my head around the fact that both my parents are gone now. With only me and my foreman Thomas in the ranch, we worked our butts off after Dad died. I did work all my life in the ranch and know how everything works, but it still wasn't the same without Dad around. It took me a good 2 months to shake off the grief and pull my head out of my butt. Dad's man of business, Sean Murphy, kept coming back then, but I always sent him off. When we finally talked, he told me I'll be getting the ranch, but with the condition from my father. Apparently, I clearly wasn't listening when he read the last will and testament. I had to get married in 1 year to inherit the ranch. Sean holds the deed for the ranch for the meantime until I fulfill the condition of the will. However, it's been 10 months and I still haven't found anyone. Well, it's not that I haven't found anyone. I haven't been actively looking to make anyone my wife. Frankly, with all the work in the ranch, I haven't the time to date, much less find a wife. I obviously can't randomly pull someone off the street and propose to them after only a few dates. Besides, the women in this town know who I am. It won't be a surprise if someone throws themselves at me if they learn about the will. I only have about 2 months to be with someone before I completely lose the ranch my father worked so hard to build. I pull the strands of my hair in frustration. I've tried to not think much about it for the past months, but that only backfired now because there's no way I can't escape that damn condition. Growling in annoyance, I slip out of my seat and trudge along the gravel path to the entrance of the diner. I've made it a habit to come here, and it's not because of the food. The reason for my habit greets me as soon as I sit in my booth. "Hello, Bob. You're early today," Sarah says, fishing out her notepad from her apron. "Good evening, Sarah," I mutter, staring up at her and desperately trying not to drool. "You look beautiful tonight." Everyone who has ever come to EJ's will agree that Sarah is a beauty. She's a small woman, barely coming up to my shoulder, with such a lovely dark complexion and equally dark hair that she's always put in a ponytail. I've had dreams of running my fingers and tangling them with the strands of her hair. But of course, I'll never tell her that. She gives me the barest smile. "Want your usual, or do you want to try something new?" She has her pen poised on her notepad, waiting for me to say something. "I'll have the usual." She nods, pocketing her notepad and pen. "I'll be back with your order." I sigh to myself when Sarah turns around and walks away. What a mess I am for swooning after this woman when I should be looking for a wife. Some minutes later, she comes back with the tray. She slides the plate and coffee in front of me. "You look down, Bob," she says, hugging the tray close to her chest. "Everything all right?" I exhale. Sarah has always been nice to me and talks to me whenever she can. It can get rather busy in the diner, but she always makes it a point to talk to me. It makes me feel better to have someone other than Thomas to talk to. We've some sort of friendship now, with me regularly coming here anyway. I clear my throat. I'm rather in a predicament. I might lose the ranch. Sarah knits her brows, sliding to the seat opposite me. She looks concerned and alarmed with the news. "How are you losing the ranch?" I realize she must think it's about money. I flick my wrists. "It's nothing like that. The ranch isn't in trouble or anything. It's about that damn will my dad made." She's quiet for a bit. "Is the ranch not going to you?" I shake my head, toying with the fork. "It is. But my dad had some conditions, and I don't think I can meet them in time." She waits for me to continue. "He wants me to get married in a year," I finally say. "And it's been 10 months, so I only have a little bit of time before I lose the ranch." Sarah doesn't say anything, but just nods, taking in the situation. I've no idea what she's thinking right now, but I sure hope it's not somewhere along the line of how pathetic I am. Because even to me, my situation sounds pretty pathetic.
Chapter 2. Sarah. I nod at Bob, trying to understand his situation. It's not really uncommon for families to have such stipulations. I've heard of families that have their children married to secure the future of their own properties. I just didn't realize that's also happening with Bob. Bob comes in the diner often, and that's how I got to know him. He's always polite and strikes up conversation. He tells me stories about his ranch and is just an overall chill, easygoing guy. I haven't seen him talk to anyone else, though. He comes here alone and orders the same thing, which doesn't quite make sense to me. I mean, coming to the diner for a date is hardly proper, but even about town, I haven't seen him with anyone. Bob, for lack of better words, is attractive. I don't think he knows it, though. When I first saw him, I had to physically tell myself to stop ogling his arms. He's got nice arms, to be fair. It's muscled and tanned from the sun. His eyes are the most striking blue eyes I've ever seen. It makes me giddy and uncomfortable at the same time when he focuses them on me when we're talking. "I'm sorry, Bob," I say, not knowing what else to tell him. It's not something I can actively help with. That is, I don't know many girls really for him to meet. And honestly, with my job and my son, I don't have much time to hang around people. "It's all right," he nods, sipping his coffee. "I can't really expect anyone to solve this problem for me. It's my own fault. I should have paid attention to it, and with only 2 months left, I couldn't really get married that fast." He sighs, scrubbing his face with his hands. "The only plan I can come up with is to have someone pretend to be my wife. But it's not as if I could just pick up some random woman and have them pretend to be my wife." An idea must have bloomed in his mind because I see the moment he's come up with it. His eyes light up in wonder and focus on me again. I shift uncomfortably in my seat. "Say, Sarah," he watches me, leaning forward and lowering his voice. "What do you say about pretending to be my wife?" I open my mouth, staring at him in shock. What the hell is he talking about? My hearing must have failed me already because I believe he just asked me to pretend to be his wife. "I'm sorry, what?" I blink in confusion. "It's not going to be forever, though. Maybe just for a couple of months until I can have the deed signed over." Bob claps his hands together, a smile spreading on his lips. That would fulfill the terms of the will. I stare at Bob. I can't tell if he's making a joke or actually serious about this plan. But watching the eager look on his face, I realize he's actually serious. Has Bob completely lost his mind? I heard people can have complete mental breakdowns because of stress, but Bob always seemed to be steadfast and level-headed. I never pegged him as anyone who would have one. He's watching me expectantly, the coffee now forgotten. Are you serious? As a heart attack, Bob nods. I mean, if someone has to pretend to be my wife, I'd rather it be someone I know, someone who's smart and honest. I don't want to marry someone for the sake of keeping the ranch, Sarah. I know there are many good women out there, but I don't have the time. I shake my head. I understand Bob's desperation, and he might think it's a good idea now. Looking at the worry etched on his face, I feel bad for him. The ranch clearly means a lot to him, and it would be a total loss for him. Bob has always been a good man, and anyone would be lucky to have him. In all honesty, there have been times I wondered why he hasn't been seen with someone. As far as I know, he's a hard-working, dedicated man, but I've never even heard him talk about a woman. I don't pry, though, because that's not my business. I'm sorry, Bob. I finally find my voice, telling him and meaning it. I'd really like to help, but not like this. I can't pretend to be married to anyone. His face falls. Why not? I let out a huge sigh. I'm actually dating someone. I'm dating Tom. I know not many realize this, but we have been dating and we're happy. I purse my lips. That's not necessarily lying because I am dating Tom, and there are times we're happy. But like I said, I can't pretend to be married to anyone, especially not when I'm dating anyone or even if I'm single. Thinking about it just sounds so wrong. We'll be lying to the law. I don't want to get into trouble that way. I'm barely scraping by, working in this diner. Plus, I have my son to think about. This plan isn't foolproof, and what would I do if someone finds out about it? I'm sure this is some sort of fraud. I can't risk it. The surprise is evident in Bob's face when I mention that I'm dating Tom. But considering Tom doesn't hang out in the diner, it's understandable he might not think we're dating. I don't even think anyone here is aware we're dating. Tom? He asks in curiosity, his brows knitting slightly. I nod. We have for a while now. I didn't realize. He looks so crestfallen that I almost reach out to pat his shoulder or take his hand, but I know neither would be appropriate, though I can't help feeling remorse for being unable to comfort him. I slide out of the booth, gathering my wits, and stand up. Bob follows my movement with his eyes but doesn't say anything. I'm sorry, Bob, I tell him again. Right now just isn't a good time. He nods. I know. I open my mouth to apologize again, but he continues, flashing me a smile, although I can see it's clearly forced. No problem though, Sarah. I'm sure I'll figure it out. I return his smile. I'm sure you will. Have a good day, Sarah. He nods at me, picking up his cup again. Thanks, you too. I turn and walk away from him.
Chapter 3. Bob. It's been 2 days since Sarah turned me down, though I'm not sure which part of her turning me down bothers me. I realize it's that she's actually dating someone that shocked me more. I've never seen her with someone, nor has she mentioned dating anyone. That shocked and disappointed me more. And of course, that she didn't agree with my plan. I know I can't force it on her. After all, I came up with the plan on a whim. I guess desperation really brings out the worst in people. However, when I got home that night and really thought it through, I realized the plan might actually work. Perhaps I can fake some documents or something. I'm sure Thomas might know some people. I tried calling Sarah since I have her number, but she won't answer my calls. It also won't be proper to ask again, but I'm out of options, so I head over to EJ's again to try and talk to Sarah. I see her as soon as I walk in. It's just around lunchtime, so there are lots of people now. I nod to a few people I know, but I make a beeline for my usual booth. I know Sarah will just come by to take my order, and then I can talk to her. "Sarah," I greet her, nodding when she walks to me. She takes out her notepad again, though we both know I'll order the same thing. "Bob," she returns, I've been calling you." Her mouth twists into a frown. "I know, and there's a reason I've not been answering. I feel like a schoolboy getting scolded, but I push through the humiliation and meet her eyes. Sarah doesn't look happy. She doesn't look angry either. In fact, she looks more tired than usual. Her ponytail is more haphazardly done with more stray hairs escaping, but she still looks stunning. Blinking, I bring myself back to the reason I want to talk to her. "I was hoping you'd reconsider my offer." Sarah sighs heavily before slipping into the seat across me. She leans closer, but the tired look on her face never leaves. I want to ask her if she's been working overtime, but I hold my tongue. "Please don't mention that here and lower your voice. Do you know what people will think of you and me if you continue to pursue this?" I swallow because she does have a point. "I know you've reasons why you can't, but I was hoping you'd help out a friend." "I'd gladly help you, Bob," she grits out, "but not like this. And I told you already, I'm dating someone. It won't be fair for him to pretend to be your wife while still dating him. I have my principles." It feels like someone has punched me in my gut. Sarah sounds so distraught by my offer, and I couldn't help feeling guilty for pushing her again. "But I'm desperate, Sarah. I don't have anyone else that might help me. I don't have any other plan to save the ranch, and I need to save the ranch. I don't even know where it'll go if I can't save it." Sarah shakes her head at me, looking down on the notepad she placed on the table. "I want to help you, Bob, but I truly can't right now. I'm sorry." My throat tightens at her rejection again. More than the hurt of her rejection is the dread of losing the ranch. "Should I bring your usual order?" It takes a long time for me to register her question, but I shake my head, not feeling hungry at all. "I think I'll just go home," I say. I stand up and turn away from her. I can't bear looking at her in the eyes after all the humiliating things I did and said. Sarah surprises me when she reaches out and grabs my forearm. Tingles shoot out from the area she placed her palm to my groin. I stiffen, and she must have taken my reaction the wrong way, because she immediately lets me go. I miss the heat of her palm on my skin almost instantly. "I'm really sorry, Bob," she mutters, standing up. She gives me a regretful smile before turning back to the counter. I give her one last look before I leave the diner, all the while wishing I can say something else to Sarah and convince her to help me. When I get home, I immediately walk to the kitchen freezer and grab the tub of ice cream I keep in there. I move to the living room, carrying the frozen delight, and turn on the television. I don't bother to switch channels and just plop down the couch and open the tub. Not bothering to get a bowl, I scoop out a large chunk and start eating it from the container. How the hell am I going to get the ranch signed to my name now? I watch the show, but my mind is racing. The dismay and uneasiness I feel won't go away soon, and I'm almost out of options. I can maybe go on a date. The question remains if I can find someone that will be willing to marry me with only approximately a month or so of dating. Thinking about getting tied down to some random woman brings a new wave of dread in my chest. I can hire someone, perhaps, but that will mean that I'll have to trust them not to betray me. With the ranch at stake, I can't be too sure. Shoving another spoonful of ice cream in my mouth, I welcome the slight ache it brings on my gums running to my temples. This is just a small punishment for being such an idiot and not thinking about the deed. This is probably the biggest problem I've ever had, and it only got bigger because of my own arrogance. I've no way of fixing this without doing anything illegal, and I'm not ready to be a criminal. Maybe I can ask Sean for some more time? I sigh, defeated. Knowing the man and his strict morals, that's not plausible. He'll probably figure something's up. Asking him for help would only make it seem I'm not serious about the ranch. I should have just done this sooner. Maybe then I'll be able to meet someone. Scooping up some ice cream, it pains me thinking I've met the perfect woman for the job, yet she's not willing. I think I've just lost all my chances.
Chapter 4. Sarah. I frown at the coffee in front of me, remembering last night's events. I can't believe that Tom had the audacity to bring the woman he's cheating on me during our date. It sounds straight out of a TV drama, but that's exactly how my night went. When he asked me to go out with him for dinner, I expected it to be something nice. We haven't been on lots of dates because of my job. I was excited to finally spend some time with him too. I even called a babysitter to watch over Lukas. He told me to meet him in this restaurant, which I can't remember the name of. I got ready and put on a pretty dress. But when I got to the restaurant, I see he's seated with someone else. At first, I thought it was just someone he knew or from business or something. I never entertained the idea that they might be together until I saw him lean over and kiss her, and the jerk actually waved me over. I stood there open-mouthed while he explained to me that he's found someone else. In front of the woman he's cheating on me with, he broke up with me. It really upset me. But with all the willpower I can muster, I managed to not make a scene. The woman, I don't even know her name, had the nerve to actually say they've been seeing each other for a long time. I wanted to smack her smug face in then. Tom, with all his pretty boy looks, actually invited me to have dinner with them. And this was before he mentioned that they were actually on a date and just wanted me to know they're together now. I went home seething that my hands were actually shaking from pent-up anger. I didn't immediately cry, and I think it was because of the humiliation rather than losing Tom. To say last night didn't go well is an understatement. If Tom can do something like that to my face, I wonder what he's been doing behind my back. He clearly wasn't apologetic when he told me he's breaking up with me. Under all the anger, though, the whole thing just makes me sad. It makes me think that maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I wasn't enough for him. That's why Tom looked for someone else. But at the same time, screw him. I know I wasn't a bad girlfriend, though I haven't been the most present. I knew I put an effort in our relationship to keep each other happy. Tom clearly didn't feel the same. If he can easily switch women like it's not a bother, I can show him I can move on fast as well. As if the heavens are listening, the perfect solution walks through the diner door. Bob gives me a small wave before settling down to the extra booth. I take my notepad and stride to him with determination I don't know I possess. "Hello, Bob," I say, greeting him. He nods, his mouth in a grim line. "Sarah, hello?" He hesitates. "Can I talk to you? I've something I want to say." I have something to say as well. Bob knits his eyebrows, looking behind me to the counter where my boss is manning the register. "It's okay. It's slow now here in the diner," I reassure him. "There are only a couple of customers as it's not yet peak hours." "I can talk for a bit." Bob nods, inhaling heavily and shifting in his seat. He looks like he's psyching himself up to whatever he wants to say. I stay standing by his table, watching him. He cranes his head to meet my eyes. "I came to apologize," he starts saying. "I know I really came on strong and I'm so ashamed with my actions, but I want you to know that I'd never force you into anything. I'm just really desperate, and I've no one else I can think of to help me. I know the plan I came up with is stupid. I hold up a hand, stopping him. "I'm in." "You're what?" His frown deepens. "On second thought, I accept your offer." Bob stares at me, bewildered. "Did something happen? Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I insist. I sigh, realizing I have to tell him the reason I'm agreeing now. Tom actually broke up with me. Apparently, he's been cheating on me for a long time, and I just haven't noticed. I'm either blind or stupid. I can't decide. Bob opens his mouth to say something, but I continue. "He asked me on a date last night and brought the woman he's cheating on me with. Broke up with me right in front of her." "What a jerky," I hear Bob mutter under his breath, knuckles clenched. I notice a muscle on his jaw jump, and I know it's because of what Tom did. I wave it off, trying not to look affected. I thought if he can do that to me, what was the point of our relationship? If we can even call it that. Apparently, they've been going out for a while too. So, I thought, why not help you now when I can? I carry on. I'm not dating anyone now, and I can actually help you get the ranch signed over to you. So, like I said, I'm in. Bob purses his lips. He doesn't say anything for a while. I'm actually afraid he's changed his mind. Thank you, Sarah, he finally says in a low voice. I literally have no other plan except that. I actually came here to apologize for being rude to you. I didn't want us to be on bad terms. I consider you a friend, and it upsets me thinking I might have hurt you in any way. Warmth blooms in my chest. I swallow and try not to look like what he just said filled me with sunshine. And screw Tom, he adds, his voice filled with distaste. You can do so much better than him anyway. I know, Bob. I give him a grateful smile. Then we have a deal? Bob reaches out one hand. I take it. We shake hands, sealing the deal. Let's talk about conditions during my break, I say, pulling away from him. Do you want your usual? He flashes me a smile. This time it's his usual smile too. Yes, please.
Chapter 5. Bob. The last thing I expected for Sarah to do when I walked into the diner was accept my offer. In all honesty, I really did come in here to apologize. After thinking about what I did, I assumed the tired look on her face must be because of me and my relentlessness. I realize I've been pestering her about my plan, but she accepted my offer, and it's like something heavy has been lifted off me. I finally see hope in this situation, and I'm ecstatic that there might be a way for me to secure the deed for the ranch. However, I didn't like the circumstances of how she accepted and can help me now. When Sarah told me how Tom broke up with her, it took me every last restraint to not hunt down the jerk and cut his balls. I can't believe there'd be someone as callous as him to act that way in front of a woman he's supposed to be dating. Sarah didn't look like it, but I can tell it deeply affected her. She's trying to hide the pain of what's happened, but I can see the unshed tears in her eyes. It boils my blood thinking some jerk put that in there. No one deserves that level of disrespect. I watched Sarah throughout her shift. I ordered loads of coffee too. She didn't act like her boyfriend had just dumped her and broken her heart. She went on smiling and making small talk with the customers. I know for a fact that Sarah is a strong woman, but even then, I still want to punch Tom. He's clearly hurt her. Sarah works for some 2 hours non-stop, and I just enjoy watching her. When she's finally on her break, she walks over to me and slides opposite me in the booth. She brings with her a piece of paper. I want us to put our conditions in writing, she explains when I raise a brow at the paper. Fair enough, I agree, leaning forward into the table. I don't have many conditions, so let's start with you. What are your conditions, Sarah? She picks out her pen and starts scribbling. I peer over to what she's writing. She looks so cute, a little frown on her face as she concentrates on writing. First of all, let's make it perfectly clear that we're only pretending, all right? She faces me, and her expression is all professional now. I bite my lips to keep myself from smiling. I nod. Of course. I understand, though, that we have to act like we're married. She regards me, pen poised at her chin. So let's only do a couple things in public, okay? What does that mean? I sit straighter. She sighs. It means I consent to kissing you, holding your hand, all that jazz, but only in public, and only when we need to convince people. Otherwise, let's keep this professional. You're my friend, Bob. I don't want to give you a different impression. Besides, it wouldn't be proper. I don't mind being improper with you, I think. I'm assuming we'll be acting like a couple in public for it to be believable? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I swallow and an image of kissing Sarah flashes in my head. I have to grab the end of the table to not fall over. My pants suddenly feel 10 times tighter. What about other intimacies? I ask. Sarah's eyes widen at the suggestion, but she frowns at me, though a blush creeps on her face. Absolutely not. No booty or whatsoever, do you understand, Bob? I hold my hand in surrender, chuckling at her reaction. Yes, ma'am. We won't be telling anyone about our arrangement, too, he continues, trying to divert the subject to safer grounds. That's a given. Other than it's pathetic for me to turn to means such as this to secure the deed, I don't want anyone thinking anything bad about Sarah. It's already bad enough with Tom. I don't want her to be caught in any rumors or name-calling. Sarah's already helping me out as it is. I don't want anyone else hurting her. I'll protect her if I have to. Those are my terms, she declares. What about you? I clear my throat. We need to convince Sean Murphy, that's the lawyer, that we're married. I can procure a forged marriage license if needed, but Sean has been in the family for long. I'm sure he'll trust me when I say I'm married. I only need to show you to him, I guess. Sarah hesitates, but nods anyway. We need to pretend until I've the deed signed over. I don't know how long that'll take, but give or take 2 months. Sean said I had a year to fulfill the terms of the will after Dad died. It would have been a year since Dad died then. We stay silent for a bit. Sarah looks like she wants to say something but doesn't, and instead just comforts me with her silence. I still miss my dad, and until these past few weeks I've only cursed him for his stupid will. I understand why, though, but it still doesn't make it easy for me to achieve it. That's pretty much it, Sarah, I say. Will you be okay with that? Sarah inspects the piece of paper with the list of our conditions. She finally looks at me and smiles. Yes, I'm okay with this. Do we need to sign that? I'm sure that's not legally binding, though. Sarah snickers, folding the paper and shoving it in her apron pocket. I'll hold on to it then. Sarah darts a look at the wall clock, eyes widening. My break is almost over. I have to go soon. Yeah, that's okay. We need to practice this whole pretend relationship, though, she says, standing up. I cross my arms, nodding in agreement. I agree. She nods, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, and starts to walk away back to the counter. I watch her as my mind wanders to dangerous territories like kissing Sarah. The prospect of feeling her lips against mine tightens my gut, and I can't tell if it's from excitement or alarm. I have to remind myself that we'll only be doing it for the sake of the ranch. Although I'm still intrigued by the idea and honestly can't wait to try it, I certainly can't tell Sarah this, but I'll be lying if I say I'm not excited.
Chapter 6. Sarah. As soon as my shift ends, I immediately head on over Bob's booth. Seating myself across him, I lean over and stare at him with dead serious eyes. Now that we're through with the do's and don'ts in our fake relationship, it's time to put our pretending into action. So, Bob, now that we've established the rules in this ruse, what do you say we start putting our acting to the test? He frowns at me and sips on his third cup of coffee. I don't know how the man lives with just drinking that much coffee with so little food ordered since he came into the diner today. I can barely make it to 2 cups myself. Having Lukas is more than enough to keep a soul awake and alert with all the mischief he's been doing. At the thought of my son, I think it's been a good move for me not to introduce him to Tom. When his father left, my ex, Lukas was still a little baby and has little to no memory of him whatsoever, which is for the best. The only reason I thought about dating Tom is so I can provide a father figure for him. I know that he's not asking for his father now, but he's a smart kid. He'll be asking questions sooner or later. I don't think I'm capable of facing those questions alone. However, when I think about letting Tom meet Lukas, there's just a little voice inside of me that says, not yet. And it just doesn't feel right. It kept going throughout our relationship until I discovered he's been cheating on me. The jerk isn't even retracting his invitation to a party he mentioned we'll be going to weeks ago when we were still together. It just shows that he's moving on without me and wants the whole world to see that. Well, I sure as hell am not going to just tuck my tail between my legs and slink away. I'm not going to hide because I'm not the one who cheated. And I'll be damned if I'll be playing the poor, sad, and injured party here. I'll show him that if he can move on with lightning speed, then so can I. There's this formal party I've been invited to, and since my ex cheated on me, I need a date. This way, we can see if our acting is effective in front of people. We'll get some practice, and you'll be helping me out as well. 2 birds with 1 stone. Well, when Bob just stares at me intently from the rim of his coffee cup, my heart suddenly pounds in my chest as his blue eyes seem to sear through mine. A couple of beats pass before he puts down his cup and nods. That can be arranged. When can I pick you up then? I almost sigh in relief, but I quickly compose myself. Then we begin discussing our next move for our pretense. I'm not ready for the picking you up part yet, so I decide we'll be meeting at the venue of the party. It's going to happen a couple of hours just after I end my shift, so we both have to go home and change before we meet up. After a couple of minutes of him insisting on taking me home, and with me insisting on going home by myself, we head our separate ways. On the way home, I think to myself how beneficial this plan is for me. 1, I can get Tom jealous as payback for all the crap he's put me through. 2, I'm not kidding about getting to practice our acting skills. If I want to help Bob with his problem, I better pull my own weight in the acting department. Our play pretend at the party will also be an indication if Bob and I will be working well together, long enough to get the ranch transferred to him. Not only that, but with Bob by my side, I won't look like a laughingstock in front of Tom, his new girlfriend, and his other friends. I'll show them. When I arrive home, I spend an hour taking care of Lukas. I help him with his homework, let him read his books, and play his video games before I tuck him in bed. After that, I immediately prepare myself for the party. I style my hair to an elegant bun and put on my favorite red dress with a slit on the left leg. Of course, I put on some makeup as well. When I arrive at the party's venue, I notice a tall, handsome man in a fancy suit standing by the entrance, being surrounded by a couple of women. He doesn't seem to notice them, though. He just stands there, looking ahead of me. Or is he looking at me? As I got nearer, my eyes widened to find that the handsome man in a fancy suit is actually Bob, and the thought that he's been looking at me the whole time, not noticing the women flocking around him, makes me blush. He smiles at me and gives me a wink. Taking my hand, he places a soft kiss on the back of my hand. You look stunning, Sarah. If I didn't know any better, I think my face is the same shade as my dress already, but I fight against it and smile back at him. You don't look bad yourself. For a rancher, I tease. He laughs and then offers his arm, which I gladly took. I note the expression of dismay and disappointment in the other women's faces, who are now wandering away from Bob and me. I don't know why, but it makes my heart flutter that only I hold the attention of one of the most handsome men at the party. We head inside the venue, and I show him off to everyone. The moment we head towards the direction where Tom and Candy are, my smile widens at the expression on Tom's face upon seeing us. A sense of satisfaction courses through me as I steer us from the two to head over to one of my old friends instead. Now that I think about it, before I even laid eyes on Tom and Candy, I haven't thought of them since we arrived. I was actually too focused and absorbed on how Bob handles my old friends so well. He's so charismatic, easygoing, and pretty laid back even in his suit that the people around him can't help it but feel at ease. Truth be told, I'm actually pretty happy as well. I'm glad to have Bob by my side, even if it's pretend. When Bob asks me to dance, I almost lose myself at the sight of his mesmerizing blue eyes. I take his hand, and he leads me towards the dance floor. Am I really happy pretending to be happy, or am I really, really happy with Bob's company? Am I even pretending to be enjoying being with Bob at all? As he sweeps me off my feet in the middle of the dance floor, I can't help but think that maybe I'm really enjoying myself after all.
Chapter 7. Bob. It's been a day since Sarah and I attended that party together, and there's only one thing I can say. Sarah is perfect. I never doubted that Sarah will fit the bill in my quest to find a pretend partner, so I can secure the ranch. It seems as if playing my pretend partner is a mold in my life that's shaped only for her. Not one of her friends wonders why she and her ex broke up, and they already act as if I'm the one she's been with for a long time. I don't like attending or throwing parties because I'm always busy with the ranch. However, I know my way around people even though I never had any interaction aside from Thomas, which is also the reason why I never have a girlfriend or partner for the past. God knows how long already. With Sarah in the picture, I expect that there will be major changes in my life, albeit temporary. If we're going to play pretend to convince, then we'll play close enough for it to be the real thing. Meaning I might expect some girly stuff inside my life. Oddly enough, thinking about Sarah making a mark on my life doesn't make me think about running for the hills. In fact, I seem to be okay with that. Which is weird because that's one of the reasons I don't want to be in a relationship in the first place. Women will nag and demand time from me. Time that I don't feel like giving just because they asked me to. Time, in my opinion, is better spent tending to the ranch and keeping it afloat and in memory of my father's hard work. However, I've known Sarah long enough to know that Sarah isn't that kind of woman. I know that she's a single mother and understands the importance of hard work. But whenever I ask how the kid's doing, she'll instantly brighten up like a sun peeking out of the clouds after a rainy day. No matter how exhausted she looks, one mention of her son, and she had a full night's rest. She's not like some of the women who've been clinging on to me just because I run a ranch. They see nothing but dollar signs in their future and how they'll be provided for while they sit on their butts and look pretty. This means only one thing, too. It's time I present Sarah to the person who'll soon sign over the deed to me, Sean McMurphy. While driving towards the restaurant where we'll meet him, I glance at Sarah. She looks so cool, calm, and collected, yet there's something inside me saying that she's actually feeling anything but. Reaching over to hold her hand in mine, I give her hand a reassuring squeeze. Just to keep you at ease while we're heading there, let's recap. If he asks how we met. You've been a regular in the diner I'm working at, and we started going out. We've been married for the past 10 months since then. We're also sticking close to the truth as much as possible, so we won't make a mess from so many lies, but we won't give out as much info unless asked. As she starts talking, I notice that there's a slight tremble in her voice, however. I nod in satisfaction when I slowly hear it fade away to make way for a stronger, more confident tone. Calm now? I glance at her again with a smile, and my heart seems to do cartwheels in my chest when she smiles back. Yeah, thanks, Bob. I needed that. She squeezes my hand back. We arrive in the restaurant shortly, where Sean is already waiting for us. Now him in one of the tables I reserved for the evening, my heart's pounding again, only for a different reason this time. Apprehension. Hooking an arm around Sarah's waist, I guide her towards Sean and introduce them. Sean is an old, tall, thin, and wiry kind of man with spectacles. Upon seeing him, you might think that he's one of those old butlers in the movies, since his preferred attire is similar to the butler livery. Sean, this is Sarah, my wife, and Sarah, this is Sean McMurphy, our family lawyer. Sean reaches over to shake Sarah's hand. Pleased to meet you, Mrs. Andrews. She gives a confident yet sweet smile. The pleasure's all mine, Mr. McMurphy. Please call me Sarah. Sean nods in approval as we take our seats. Sweet and polite. I don't blame you for keeping her from anyone, Bob. The waiter hovers over our table as he takes our orders. After that, Sean doesn't beat around the bush and begins asking Sarah questions upon questions regarding me. Like what kind of man I am, and what are my likes and dislikes. I'm not expecting those kinds of questions at all. But thankfully, the lengthy discussions she and I share about our lives during my visits at the diner are paying off. To my surprise and delight, Sarah handles him better than I do. She even tells Sean some of the childhood pranks I pulled on him when I was young to show that I trust her. But maybe not so much now since she just ratted me out to Sean, I muse inwardly. The old man isn't even making a move to hide his awe and how impressed he is with her throughout the conversation. Thankfully, she manages to end the torture, and finally, I'm hearing what I want to hear once the food arrives. Now, Sean says as he adjusts his spectacles, the discussion of the will. I can see what made you marry this lovely woman. As per the will's requirements, may I have a copy of your marriage certificate? Even with her smile in place, I can feel Sarah tense beside me as I reach and hand out an envelope to Sean. I already know that Sean will be asking for documentation, so I had a marriage contract forged. I also took some pictures of us together during the ceremony, just in case he'll ask for further proof. Although she's on board with the pretending thing, forgery is one thing she wants no part of. Even if I assured her that it'll all be on me in case everything falls over, that still didn't make her feel at ease. After a few hemming and hawing on the document, he gives it back to me with a smile on his face. All right, you've convinced me. Not only that you'll be a fool to just let this lovely woman slip away, but I can see that the two of you have a bond as strong as your mom and dad. Know that your father just added this in the will, so you won't miss the love and companionship he and Mother had, Bob. I nodded, ignoring the guilt gnawing at the back of my mind. I flinch when I feel someone take my hand and I look at Sarah. She's holding my hand while giving me a small smile. Her eyes fill with so much understanding and comfort that I want nothing more than to just soak it in. I smile back at her, and without thinking, I lift her hand towards my lips to kiss it, making her smile wider. That settles it then. Sean's voice pierces through my senses, and I forgot that he's there, sitting in front of us. He's grinning at the both of us widely. I'll be signing the deed over to you within 2 months. You'll receive a notice promptly. Now let's eat and celebrate. I'm beyond ecstatic as we eat our meals in celebration. I can't even explain how relieved I am. I won't have to worry about losing the ranch anymore. Plus, I have Sarah by my side even if it's just a pretense. Everything seems to be going my way now.
I hope you're enjoying this audiobook by Vic Savon. If you want to keep hearing more audiobooks, then please hit that subscribe button and like the video. It may seem insignificant, but the more people that subscribe, the easier it is to produce more audiobooks in the future. So please, help us out and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for listening, and now back to your book.
Chapter 8. Sarah? No thanks. I hit the send button on my phone as I flip the pancakes on the pan with one hand while the other pockets the gadget. I feel a slight vibration in the pocket of my pants, and I dread to see Tom's reply. I also hope it's not one of my friends asking me to come to their party. I don't know how long it's been since Bob and I attended the first party after my breakup with Tom. I also don't know how long since we had dinner with Bob's family lawyer, Sean. But what I do know is that ever since the first party, Tom is being a passive-aggressive jerk. He keeps contacting me and inviting me to parties with all of our old friends. I keep trying to refuse his parties over and over again, but it seems Tom manages to figure out that he can't make me come to the parties he's hosting. Instead, he asks our other old friends to hold a party, which he'll pay for and manage, at their place. If I refuse him, then he'll ask one of our friends to ask me to come to their place and attend their party. As if I don't know that the whole thing stinks of Tom. According to some of my friends, the parties that Tom keeps throwing at his place, the one I always refuse to attend, he makes it a point to bring Candy along and parades her to anyone and everyone, as if he wants them to accept Candy just as how they accepted Bob so easily. Well, it doesn't matter. No matter how many times Tom parades her to the same group of friends, she'll never compare to Bob's genuine and natural charm. Plus, Bob didn't replace anyone in my life. Bob's actually an upgrade compared to Tom. But what am I saying? As if there's even a competition in the first place. I roll my eyes at that, plopping the pancakes on Lucas's plate, who's busy with his toy dinosaur and stuffed whale. I'm about to tell him to start eating when the phone in my pocket begins ringing. I set the pan back on the stove and check my phone. With a groan, I answer it. "Hey, Lindsay, what?" "You have to come to my party tonight." Apart from Lindsay screaming my eardrums off, I can hear some screaming and squeals, as well as some wild beats in the background. "Lindsay, no, I can't. I have to." "No excuses, Sarah. You have to come. If you worry about Lucas, then I can totally send for a sitter. Just get your butt in here later tonight." There's some kind of crash and more hoots on the other end, and it makes me think that really a party that adults fix up together? It sounds more like a frat party that frat boys try so hard to put together for an excuse to pinch butt and make out with girls. I also know that Lindsay is the kind of person who won't hesitate to follow through on her word to get a sitter for Lucas if I didn't attend. With a sigh, I agree, which only makes Lindsay squeal. Shaking my head, I end the call and dial Bob. Because one thing's for sure, Tom will be there on purpose to get under my skin and annoy the hell out of me. "Yellow." Bob's calm greeting on the other line instantly eases a little of my annoyance. "Bob, you free tonight?" I pin the phone between my ear and shoulder as I hand over a napkin to Lucas, nudging his glass of milk closer to him. "Yep, why?" "How do you feel about going to a party with me tonight?" "Awesome. When, where, what time, and theme?" I quickly tell him the details, and this time, I let him pick me up at my house. Apart from not having any shift today, I still have to do some chores at home. Like the first party, I prioritize getting my son happy, fed, and in bed. Unlike the last party, this one is casual themed, so the moment my mom mode is done, the rest is a blur. One moment, I'm changing into my best jeans and blouse. Next thing I know, I'm already inside Bob's car, and we're heading towards Lindsay's place. We spend the whole ride talking to each other, just like we do whenever he hits the diner, and I spend my break with him. We talk about Lucas, Bob's ranch, and we even talk about the progress of his deed transfer. It's like nothing has changed between us, even though there is. But I like talking to Bob and hanging out with him. Unlike Tom's suffocating presence, with Bob, I don't have to pretend to be someone else. That I can be proud because I'm a working mom and not some kind of trophy wife to be put on the shelf where all I do is gather dust. Come to think about it, he and Candy will totally suit each other. How the hell did I even manage to not notice how he's embarrassed because I work for a living? When we arrive at the party, we get out of his car, laughing and teasing each other. As we head inside Lindsay's house with his arm casually on my shoulder, we immediately bump into Tom and Candy. By the look on his face, he's probably thinking that Bob and I are just a one-time thing. Well, too bad for him. Even though I am pretending that Bob and I are a thing, he surely is mistaken to think that was just a one-time thing. "Tom, Candy." I nod in his direction and wrap an arm around Bob's waist. "Great party, huh? Well, I better go enjoy it with Bob while I'm here." We brush past them, but I don't dare miss the look on Tom's face. He's flustered and seems a little jealous, but I don't care. In my opinion, the punk deserves that. As I pull Bob in the middle of the dance floor, and we're both dancing to the beat, I'm actually starting to enjoy Bob's company. And unlike the first party, I can now say with conviction that I genuinely enjoy being with Bob. I don't need to pretend to be happy with him anymore because I already am. I'm more than thrilled to have Bob on my side rather than my punk ex. Bob and I are definitely pulling this acting off in more ways than one. I just wish that this kind of happiness will go on, even if we decide to end our pretense.
Chapter 9. Bob. Sarah looks gloomy as she serves my plate of burger and fries. I take a sip of beer as she sits facing me. She lets out a sigh. "Spill. I tell her before I take a bite of my burger. I can sense that there's something she wants to talk about. You look like a grandma with the lines on your forehead. Sarah laughs, and I instantly feel good. She looks tired and bummed, but the smile on her face lights up the diner. She stutters, "Well, there's another party tonight." I furrow my eyebrows in confusion. "And—" She groans and covers her face with her hands, her elbows resting on the table. "I need you there with me." "I didn't know you were such a party girl, Sarah," I say as I go for another sip of beer. "I'm surprised." "Lindsay called me earlier about Ricky's birthday," she explains. "Are you close friends with Ricky?" I ask bluntly. "No, but—" Sarah answers. "Then you don't have to go," I tell her. "What's the fuss?" "You know Lindsay. She'll go to the ends of the world just to have me there." "I don't understand," I say as I shake my head and chomp on my burger. "Your friends know you have Lukas, and they still drag you around like you're teenagers." "It's not like I want to go," Sarah argues, looking even more hopeless than she did earlier. "Then don't," I hiss. "Easy as that." She gulps her juice and quietly looks outside the window. I stare at her, still confused about why she's too bothered. And then it hits me. I clear my throat. "You only go to these parties to make Tom jealous, don't you?" Sarah turns to me and I see the pain in her eyes. For some reason, I feel a pang on my chest. Did I hurt myself with my own question, too? "You don't have to go," Sarah murmurs. "I'm sorry. It was a stupid idea." I recognize the look on Sarah's face. It's something I often saw on my father's face when he was still alive and managing the ranch. Betrayal. I spent a handful of days trying to understand that pain through my father before. But betrayal from someone you love is unfamiliar to me. I want to save Sarah from it. "What time?" I swallow my pride along with my snack. "No, it's fine," Sarah quickly tells me. "You helped me not lose my ranch," I add. For a moment, I hope she'll tell me that I was wrong. "I help you get back at Tom." Honestly, I don't want to be there for Sarah just to make Tom jealous. I genuinely wish to get to know her more. But we're in a fake relationship, and it was my idea in the first place. I drink the rest of my beer. For now, I'll just help Sarah in ways she allows me to, even if it means I should lie to myself. "Oh, stop it, love." Sarah grins and leans in for a kiss. Her soft lips pressing against mine send me shivering inside. I already lost count of our kisses while we're at Ricky's party, but every single one feels new. Sarah looks sensational in her white, knee-length dress with her hair down and just a little makeup. The thought of her looking this good just to punish Tom is pure torture. I'm here for the ranch, and she's here for Tom, I remind myself. I shake off my thoughts and bring myself back to reality, where we're telling people the story of how we met. "Please get your hands off Sarah, even just for a second," Lindsay belts at me, holding her nth glass of wine for the night. She points at me and snickers. "We get it, okay? You're head over heels in love with our friend." I chuckle and hold Sarah even closer to me. Lindsay's right. We've been at Ricky's party for an hour now, and I almost can't stay away from Sarah. The strange thing is that I don't feel like I'm acting at all. "Hey," I whisper to Sarah. "It's getting late. We should get going." Lindsay and the others start moaning like kids ready to throw tantrums. I hold Sarah's hand and say my goodbyes. Before I take a step back to finally leave, I see Tom with his arms around Candy, jaw clenched and obviously furious. I wait for Sarah to call his name to say goodbye, but she squeezes my hand instead. She delicately kisses my cheek. "Let's go." Padding to my car with my hand still holding hers, I wonder if Sarah intentionally ignored Tom. She usually makes sure that he sees us every chance she gets. But why not tonight? It's probably just wishful thinking, but I really hope Sarah would tell me something. Anything. I think of all the times we kissed at the party, and it's now undeniable that I'm falling for this wonderful woman beside me. "Go home with me tonight," I blurted. Part of me knows it's a shot in the dark, but I just can't stop wanting more. I stop beside my car and face her. Sarah slowly lets my hand go, and a wave of agony drowns me. I look down, thinking to myself that I knew she would refuse. Sarah chimes, "Listen, Bob. I want to punch myself for thinking that I have a chance. Why can't I just enjoy our agreement and focus on my ranch?" I'm over Tom. The world stops just as my heart does. I hope I heard her right. "Yes, I kept taking you to these parties to make him jealous," Sarah adds. I hear a hint of tenderness in her voice and my stomach churns. But not tonight. Not anymore. I can't believe the words I'm hearing, but it feels so damn good. Sarah has left me speechless for the first time, and I'm shaking in joy. What am I, a teenager? But... Sarah speaks softly. My heart sinks to my stomach. I have to go home to Lukas. Though slightly dismayed, I'm still floating on cloud 9 with what she said about Tom. I open the car door for her, my mind rambling with hundreds of questions. I hold the gear shift to start driving when Sarah suddenly says, "Go home with me tonight." Silence. I hear my heart pounding so loud that I could go deaf. I look at Sarah and she beams, her eyes shining and cheeks blushing. "If you'd like to." I hold Sarah's gaze and I'm convinced that I've never laid my eyes on anything as beautiful as her before. With all the strength that's left in this man who's succumbing to this woman's charm, I utter, "I'd love to."
Chapter 10. Sarah. "Hello, Lukas," Bob greets my boy. Lucas's face is full of questions and confusion. "Hi," he answers timidly. His eyes seek mine, and I nod at him encouragingly. I know he's just waiting for my go signal to get close to Bob. "He's my friend. His name's Bob," I say to him. Lucas's face lights up and grabs Bob's hands. I've raised him to be cautious around strangers. "Hello, Bob?" Lukas greets him and drags him to his table. "Luke." I'm about to call out to him to let go of Bob, but the latter turns to me and shakes his head. "It's fine," he mouths. I stop in my tracks. My eyes follow them as they sit on the carpet. The babysitter approaches me and says goodbye. When I turn back to the two, they're already talking about whales. "Whales are wonderful sea creatures. They're fantastic," Lukas exclaims and gestures. His hands are frantically moving as he discusses his favorite whales. "Aren't you scared of whales?" "They're big," Bob asks. Patience paints his face. He's clearly good with children. Does he have a lot of experience? "I'm not scared. They're cute and are in the same family with dolphins," Lukas explains. His tone and eyes seek to convince Bob. "They only eat the smallest marine life." "Really? What do they eat?" Bob seems to be genuinely interested in whatever my son talks about. Lukas talks more. His expressions are vivid and beautiful. For a child, this is good. Excitement overflows from him. This is the first time someone is listening to him earnestly aside from me. I silently go to Lucas's room to prepare his bed. It's almost his bedtime. Almost. I take a deep breath, keeping myself calm. Yeah, almost. Bob and I... Heat rushes to my face, and my body tingles every time I imagine Bob's face. "I'm crazy," I murmur as I walk back to them. Now, Bob's holding Lukas, who's now looking a little sleepy. They're like father and son. I'm sure that Bob will be a good father to his children. Perhaps he can be the father figure that Lukas is missing in his life. "Tired already?" I ask Lukas. "Mommy, I want to go to bed," he says. "Bob knows a lot about whales now. We'll talk tomorrow." "Really? That's good. I'll tuck you to bed." I raise my arms, but Bob doesn't give him to me. "Let me carry him there," Bob says. As soon as Lucas's head hits the pillow, he falls asleep. "That's fast," I murmur and turn to him. Our eyes meet. "Yeah, he's tired," Bob whispers. A connection snaps between us. and silence prevails. Our eyes are doing the talking. The desire to feel Bob's body against me overwhelms my senses. Bob seizes my hands, and we walk out of Lucas's room. I close the door silently and slowly. Sarah, he calls my name. It sounds like a solemn prayer from his mouth. How can something ordinary turn into something more? I tiptoe and kiss him. I've taken the initiative. Now it's up to him to grab the chance. Bob seizes my waist and deepens the kiss. Our tongues melt against each other, cruising and exploring inside our mouths. You're beautiful, Bob pants in between kisses. I nod. There's a lump in my throat. Words won't come out of my mouth. Bob's that great of a kisser. My heartbeat is racing as if I'm running a marathon. His hard body presses against mine, and it feels right. It's like I've found my home. Bob, I whisper, take me. Well. Things are heating up again. You know what to do. Go to waitress.com to get the dirty details that this platform won't put on the air. I know it sucks, but at least you can get a 40% discount with code VIXA40 to make up for it. Use it while it lasts and apply it to every digital product in your cart. Back to the story.
Chapter 11. Bob. When I open my eyes, sunlight fills the bedroom in a warm glow. I squint while looking around. Despite the sun already up, I don't feel the need to get out of bed just yet. Must be one of those lazy days. Deciding to stay in bed, I try to go back to sleep. However, despite feeling groggy and wanting to stay in bed, sleep refuses to claim me again. Staying in bed when my body doesn't want to fall back asleep will only make me unproductive. So I decide to head down for a cup of coffee, hoping it might help me fully wake up. But when I try to stretch my arms, I realize that my left arm is trapped. I look up and realize that I'm not in my bed. In fact, I'm not in my room. Then I feel the warm body next to mine, and I see Sarah beside me, still sound asleep. And I realize that I stayed the night at Sarah's place. A smile graces my lips when I remember what happened last night, and how I ended up in bed with the gorgeous woman beside me. While I didn't plan to sleep with Sarah last night, I don't regret that it happened. Nor do I regret waking up to this sight. In the soft morning light, Sarah looks much younger and innocent, like she's not bearing the burdens of single motherhood or the pain from Tom's betrayal. Right now, she looks peaceful and content in my arms. Seeing this side of her makes me realize that I enjoy having her in my arms. Even more shocking is how much I want to wake up every day to this view. I continue to observe Sarah's sleeping face, from her heart-shaped face to her button nose, to those plump lips that made me go crazy last night. I've always known that Sarah is beautiful. I just didn't realize how attracted I would be to her until this moment. A good couple of minutes pass by when Sarah shifts in her sleep, snuggling closer to me. With that movement, a stray strand of hair falls on her face, blocking my view. I tuck the offending hair off her face, and Sarah's half-open brown eyes meet mine. "Good morning," I whisper with a smile. Sarah smiles back at me, still sleepy and tired, and I fight the urge to kiss her. Kissing her would only make me want to have an encore of last night. "Good morning," she whispers back. Still half asleep, Sarah burrows her face between my neck and shoulder, which makes a shiver run down my spine and my members stir. "How are you? Are you sore?" I ask her as I try to keep my libido in control. Sarah gives me a somewhat shy smile as she shakes her head. Then she trails kisses from my chin to my neck. "You were amazing last night," Sarah mumbles absent-mindedly. I raise my eyebrows at that. While I know that my feelings for this beautiful woman are steadily crossing dangerous territories, I didn't think that she might feel the same. Just as I'm about to ask her what she means by that, Sarah freezes in my arms. In a swift moment, she sits up and moves to the edge of the bed, the blanket barely covering her body. "I'm sorry," she blurts out, eyes downcast. "What do you mean?" I mean, I shouldn't have said that. Why? I don't mind hearing how amazing I am, I reply with a teasing lilt. Sarah looks up and faces me, a small smile now on her lips. However, her eyes turn serious again, and I wonder what's going in her mind. Did I misread her? Before I could ask Sarah to elaborate, she explains, as if reading the question in my eyes. I'm sorry, Bob. It's not that I don't think you're amazing. You are. And last night was really great. It's just that... She trails off. Just what? This. Whatever this is between us. It's not included in our plans. This was just about making Tom jealous and you getting the deed for your ranch. I'm not supposed to get attached emotionally. I nod in understanding. Sleeping with her was not a part of the plan. But last night we did. We both gave in to our body's desires, hardly even fighting it. But the morning after is a different story. As I look at Sarah, I can see that she's afraid of what last night would mean. And to be honest, even I am quite apprehensive about what to do now. After all, she entered our agreement intending to make Tom jealous. But does she still feel the same? Then I remember that she said she shouldn't be getting emotionally attached. Does that mean she's feeling something for me now? Hearing that Sarah might be catching feelings for me makes me feel things that I can't understand yet. The only thing that I know right now is that this woman in front of me is very special, and I have this intense desire to make her see that. Moving closer, I place a hand on her shoulder to reassure her. It's okay. To be honest, Sarah, I'm starting to think you're pretty amazing too. Sarah looks at me, expression confused, and eyes conveying the question that her mouth could not. How? Sarah, you've been through a lot. Just being a single mother and being able to raise Lukas alone is already a feat that many people wouldn't be able to do. Not only that, but you're also able to raise him into a good boy. And did I mention how honest and hardworking you are? Because you are. You make sure to give people a pleasant experience at the diner, no matter who they are or how rude they can get. But you're also not a pushover because you know how to fight back when you're in the right. Just like that time with that Jackie girl. Sarah laughs at that, probably remembering how she put that rude woman in her place. And you're also beautiful. But more than your physical beauty, you're a kind and warm-hearted person, which makes you a beautiful person inside too. Sarah laces her hand with mine as she looks me in the eye, a smile gracing her lips. To be honest, I still have 100 different reasons why I think you're amazing, but I don't think you'd want to sit here until tomorrow. Do you mean all that? Despite her grip on my hand and the gratitude in her eyes, I can still sense a tiny doubt in her tone. So I do the only thing I could to erase that. I nod before replying, yes, and somehow Sarah's eyes seem to look brighter. Chapter 12. Bob. The look of awe and pleasure on Sarah's face is making my heart thump in my chest. Along with it is the feeling of irritation and annoyance, because this just shows that her ex is not giving her enough compliments. I know those types anyway. Snobbish jerks who don't believe in working for a living and only depend on mommy and daddy's money. I don't know why Sarah even thought about hooking up with a guy like that in the first place. He's not even man enough to appreciate her properly. Sarah's the kind of woman who needs a man gives genuine compliments. She needs someone who acknowledges her hard work and her beauty in and out. Someone like you, Bob? I stiffen at the sudden thought that invades my mind. What's even more surprising is how I find the idea appealing. I'll happily be the one to fill her needs and make her happy and content. I'm still wrapping my head around that little revelation as I watch Sarah leave the bed and start pulling on her clothes. I don't even try to hide that I'm watching and appreciating every dip and curve of her body. I sure as hell won't mind to have her again if she'll let me, even though I know that doing so will ultimately screw up all of our plans. Sarah glances at me, seeing me shamelessly ogle her as she dresses. She just shakes her head as she finally puts on her shirt, and despite covering the view of her skin, Sarah with clothes on is still as breathtaking as Sarah without clothes. She sighs, Bob, maybe the two of us should really think about this because this would screw up all of our plans. I can feel the heavy tension surround us, hovering over our heads, trying to slowly suffocate us. But I try to swallow my dismay and dispel the tension by chuckling, pretending that I'm not hoping she'll say something different. Yeah, you're probably right, I agree. However, I don't think my tactic of lightening up the mood is working because my mind and heart are still in turmoil. I sit up in bed, careful to cover my junk and not to flash Sarah before propping my elbows on my knees and stuffing my face in my hands. Honestly, I don't know what to do, Sarah. Sarah sighs again. Me either, Bob. Me either. I'll head on down to make breakfast. It's still early, so please, come stay and have breakfast with us. Looking up at her, I give her a small smile. I don't want to intrude, Sarah. I think I already overstayed my welcome as it is. And I don't want Lukas to know that I spent the night with his mom when we're not actually a thing. Sarah bites her lip. No, really. I don't want what happened between us ruin our friendship. Besides, I know Lukas will be happy to see you. He's not up yet, but when he does, we'll just tell him that you came by. Well, if you really insist. I do. I can't help but smile at her adamant tone. Well, in that case, breakfast sounds divine. With a smile, she leaves me to fix myself up. A couple of minutes later, I head out of her room and into the dining room, which connects to the kitchen. Lukas is already on the table and talking a mile a minute, looking as if he just got out of bed. The little dude is a morning person, it seems. As soon as he glances at me, he immediately beams and begins to tell me what his favorite birds are. A couple of minutes later, now I know that hummingbirds are the only birds that can fly backward. Before I get information overload from the bird names and facts, Sarah comes into the dining room, serving a plate of hash browns, omelet, and bacon. All right, Lukas, don't overwhelm Bob. We know you're smart already, she teases. But Mom, those are really interesting and cool stuff I learned about in school. The kid pokes his hash browns with a fork before taking a huge bite. By the looks of it, 1 or 2 more bites and the hash browns will disappear. Lukas looks thoughtful for a moment after finishing off his food. Can we get a hummingbird feeder? I feel bad for the little guys. Without really thinking about it, I add another hash brown onto the boy's plate. Come to think of it, I think I have a feeder at my place. My sister loved birds when she was younger, and I think she left it when she moved out. I can bring it here if you can take the responsibility for it. Lukas's eyes widen. Really? That's so cool. Yes, I can take pictures and show that for show and tell in my biology class. Speaking of school, Sarah clears her throat, and when I glance at her, her eyes seem to misty over as if she's very pleased with what she's seeing. How's school, Lukas? When Lukas blushes a little and glances at his mom and me, he turns his attention to his food. Well, it's kind of embarrassing because Mom's a girl. Sarah pretends to look offended. And what do you mean by that, young man? It's just, there's this girl in class, and... Oh, I see. What's happening here? I chuckle. Hey, Lukas, squirt. You don't have to be embarrassed about that. In fact, you should tell your mom that because she's a girl too. He frowns and looks up at me. But shouldn't it be that I talk about it with you? You're a boy too. That I am. I nod and ruffle his hair. But because I'm also a boy, I just know how you feel. However, when it comes to asking me how she thinks about you, that's where I draw a blank, squirt. So, to know that you have to know from a girl's point of view, namely your mother. He seems to ponder that for a moment before finally nodding. That does make sense. Lukas nods before looking at Sarah and me. So Mom, Bob, there's this girl in school, Jennifer. She's my classmate and my seatmate. While he goes on about how smart and how pretty this Jennifer is, Sarah and I stare at each other, grinning like fools. She looks really pleased to see Lukas and I get along as well as helping out in improving their mother and son relationship. She mouths, "Thank you" to me, And that's the most wonderful and heartfelt thank you I've ever received in my entire life.
Chapter 13. Sarah. I really don't know what to do anymore. The ranch is as good as Bob's now, but that also means that he won't be needing me to pretend to be his wife anymore. That also means that we probably won't be seeing each other again like this. He won't have any reason to be in my house like having fun with my son. We'll probably go back to the way things were before, me catering to his orders at the diner, as goes on with his life. I know that we still have our friendship, but after last night, I know that even our friendship isn't the same anymore. Looking at him interact with Lukas is really amazing. I can't ask for a better father figure for Lukas than Bob. He's going to be an amazing father someday, and I can't help thinking about him doing this in the future. But with Lukas and me, I quickly shake my head to rid myself of the thought. I can't believe I'm beginning to think about things like that. Is it because of what happened to us last night? I know that the experience is beyond my imagination, and it's unlike any other I've had in my life. But is it really because of last night that suddenly makes me think of Bob as something other than a friend? I turn to Lukas with a smile. Okay, young man, how about you clean up the plates and we'll go get ice cream after with Bob? Heck yeah! Lukas hoots and fist bumps gleefully with Bob before he quickly swipes the empty plates from the table and rushes out of the room towards the kitchen. Amidst Lukas's efforts to wash the plates, Bob reaches out to take my hand. Lukas is a good kid. You did a great job in raising him by yourself, Sarah. He says softly with an equally gentle smile that makes my heart pound double time. I know my face is heating up from Bob's compliment. No one ever complimented me when it comes to me working for Lukas. My friends always say that I'm either a bad mother for neglecting my son because I've been working for long hours, or that I need to settle down so I don't have to work so hard and just mooch on my husband's earnings for Lukas and me. To hear that coming from Bob is like a balm easing the insecurity in my soul. Thank you. I mean, I know that I'm not perfect. I have to work myself to the bone just to provide for everything that he needs, but I never want to miss anything in his life, even with work in the way. I smile wistfully at the things I do for Lukas. I always make sure that I give him time and effort at the end of the day, that I'll be the one to tuck him in and be the last one he sees every night before he goes to sleep. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to defend what you do to me, Sarah. If others don't see what a wonderful woman and mother you are, they're the ones that need to look harder. My heart just wants to melt on the spot. I know what I'm going to do next is going to be a selfish move on my part. Because no matter how I try to hide or deny it, I think that I'm already developing genuine feelings for him. And that terrifies the hell out of me. I don't have a single clue on how to deal with this, and I just wish that Bob isn't a perfectly sweet, caring, and handsome guy. Why can't he be snobbish and snooty like Tom? That way I didn't have to develop such strong feelings for the man. How about let's just keep faking our relationship for now? Maybe until the deed is already in your possession or something, I ask hopefully. I'm just grasping at straws right now, but I just need a little more time with him to sort through my feelings and think about my next move. Maybe find a clue somewhere along the way somehow. Bob nods at my suggestion. Of course, Sarah. That sounds reasonable, and I guess you're right. If we stop faking now, it's like giving up the race, even though we're near the finish line already. I don't know how to really feel about that. On one side, I'm happy that I still get to have Bob as my pretend husband and a pretend father figure for Lukas. On the other hand, I feel bad and a little guilty for using his situation to feed my own selfishness. Thankfully, I don't have to give an answer because of my son's arrival. I'm done, Lukas screams as he slides back into the dining room, drenched from head to toe. We both laugh at Lukas and immediately set out to get ourselves ready to get ice cream in town. Not an hour later, We're already making our way towards an ice cream parlor near a park. 3 ice cream, please. A chocolate, a strawberry, and whatever the kid wants to pick, Bob says to the staff and winks at Lukas and me. This one's on me, guys. Awesome. Thanks, Bob. You're so cool. Lukas hops in place and looks at the selection in front of him, eagerly choosing his ice cream. I lean towards Bob and whisper, "You know you don't have to." "It's just ice cream, babe. So," he says as he reaches for a strawberry ice cream and gives it to me with a boyish grin. "Eat and chill." A giggle escapes from my lips before I can stop it. Oh, but this man is so perfect for me. For us. I shake my head at the lame joke and where the thoughts are taking me. "You're unbelievable." "Did you guys know?" Lukas suddenly pipes up while licking his cookie dough ice cream. "Yes, baby." I smile at my son as Bob takes his own chocolate ice cream from the staff and pays for it before herding us out from the ice cream parlor. Lukas gives his treat another lick before continuing, "Cookie dough is actually delicious, but did you know that it's actually also dangerous?" "Huh? I didn't know that." "Tell me more about this squirt." Bob throws an arm over Lukas's shoulder, who just grins happily. I notice that every time Bob does something like that to my boy, he lights up like a firework. It doesn't take a genius to see that Lukas thinks the world of Bob and idolizes him. If circumstances were different. I quickly shake my head at that and focus on what my son is saying instead. Something about the possible contamination in the flour and raw egg can make raw cookie dough poisonous when eaten. I place my hand on my hip at that. "Is that why you don't eat the cookie dough when I'm offering?" "Yep. No offense, Mom. I know you make delicious cookies and all, but I don't want a tummy ache," Lukas says casually with a shrug. "You did tell me that patience is a virtue." Bob glances at me with respect and awe in his eyes. "You did good there, Squirt, listening to your mother like that." I love her, and I know she loves me, and that's more than enough for me. My lips wobble, and my eyes start to misty over. I don't want to cry, but there's something about the way Bob's looking at me and my son's touching words makes me want to tear up. Thankfully, Bob saves me from responding by pointing at Lukas's choice of flavor. "But you're eating cookie dough ice cream. Isn't that considered dangerous as well?" Lukas gives an adamant shake of his head. "No way. The cookie dough in ice cream is heated enough to kill the germs, so I only eat cookie dough when it's in ice cream." "So next time, I'll also heat up the cookie dough, then offer it to you?" I tease. "Aw, Mom, no, that would be so weird now. Just bake them." Bob then quips, "I like cookie dough, so maybe to avoid food poisoning, you can heat them up and offer them all to me next time?" Lukas looks like he's about to panic. "What?" "Hey, Bob. Not cool. Mom always makes my favorite cookies. You can't have all of them." Bob and I both laugh. Later, we spend the rest of the day in the park horsing around before heading home. Today has been definitely sweet and pleasant, and probably even one of the best days of my life.
Chapter 14. Bob. I never thought that spending the day with Sarah and Lukas can be this invigorating. I can't recall a time where I just stand back, relax, and have some fun. It's always been work, work, and more work. So this is what having a family feels like. I can't say that I don't like it. In fact, I love it. It's definitely not something I always do back at my place. But it's something that I want to look forward to after a hard day's work. Maybe this is what Sarah feels like. After a hard day's work, you get the kids to greet you back home with hugs and kisses and all the love their little hearts can give. And just like magic, all the exhaustion and the frustration from the day disappears. However, this isn't my family, and I can't help but feel bad for feeling like this. Sarah's just pretending to be my wife. She really doesn't belong to me and Lukas, too. Even though we're acting like a perfect family right now, I can't help but savor the feeling of being with them. Lukas is a great and wonderful kid. Smart, curious, very caring, and thoughtful. Sarah's a very lucky woman to have him as a son. Sarah is indeed a very beautiful woman, and a really awesome mother. Anyone saying otherwise doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Lukas is very lucky and right to be proud of his mother. Whoever's going to marry Sarah for real in the future is one lucky bastard. But like I said, they aren't my family. Not really. Before leaving the toilet, I look at the man in the mirror, watching the happiness in his eyes and the glow that sparkles within. The man in the mirror is happy. It's the happiest I've seen him since his parents passed away, and the two people downstairs are the reason for such happiness. However, I give myself a sad smile in the mirror. I don't want to overstay my welcome. What happened last night with Sarah is probably a mistake. I don't think we'll go back to the way we were before. Now when I close my eyes, I can feel her skin against mine, feel the stray strands of her hair caress me, taste her flavor on my tongue, and know how explosive we are when we're together. No, I don't think I can just stay as her friend with thoughts like that in my mind. It might be best that I could just spend my time away from them and not delude myself with thoughts of the impossible. I got out of the bathroom and head towards the main door, thinking about saying my farewells with one foot out of the house when a soft voice calls to me. "Bob, where are you going?" Sarah asks as she steps out of the living room. I have to go. I don't want to stay here and fool myself into thinking that all of this is real when it's not. Call me crazy because I think that I'm slowly wanting you and Lukas for myself, is what I want to say, but my mouth ends up saying something else. Sarah, I think you're absolutely incredible, and I want to spend more time with you and Lukas. She freezes on the spot, and I fear that I may have blown this off. However, there's a glimmer in her eyes. I'm not sure what it means, but my gut is telling me that it's something of good news. "Really?" she asks breathlessly. "Yes, I swear." I nod resolutely, sincerity filling every word. She doesn't answer for a moment, and I can see a lot of emotions flittering from her eyes. However, as they settle, the glimmer in her eyes is replaced by one that I don't like seeing in her. Fear. I'm about to tell her to forget what I say and just head on out, but she beats me to it. I also think you're a great guy, Bob. Well, not exactly the one I want to hear, but honestly, I don't think I know what I want to hear anyway. For now, I'll just take whatever she's going to give. Would you like to stay? Lukas and I were just about to play Monopoly. If you want to, that is. She chews on her lower lip anxiously. I mean, I don't want to take you away from your job or your work at the ranch. For the first time in my life, going back to work at the ranch isn't making me happy. But Sarah's invitation for me to stay a while longer does. I give her a small teasing smile. Monopoly? I think you mean monotony. She giggles at my poor joke, but the sound of it fills me with warmth. Sarah and I head on over towards the living room and see Lukas already sitting on the floor and setting up the board on the coffee table. Upon seeing me settle down on the floor beside him, his face brightens up like a light bulb. Lukas grins at me. Did you know that many friendships are ruined after they play Monopoly? He informs me as he lets me pick my piece. I reach for the dog piece. Maybe because one friend is dying of boredom from playing and ruins it for the rest, so they aren't friends anymore. Sarah laughs beside me while Lukas falls to the floor while giggling wildly. Contrary to Lukas's trivia, no friendship or any other relationship whatsoever is ruined by the game. Our Monopoly gameplay is full of laughter and teasing that I think the game did nothing but improve our bond by making it stronger. I usually don't enjoy these kinds of games, but with Sarah and Lukas, it doesn't matter what we do as long as we're having a great time together. Maybe this time, in just this moment, I can pretend even for a little bit that Sarah and Lukas are part of my family. Just for a little while is enough to tide me over for the rest of my life.
Chapter 15. Sarah. A couple of days pass, and Bob is slowly becoming a fixture in our lives. If Lucas has been looking up to him since the first time they met, it seems Bob's place elevates in his book day by day. If the man tells my son to go jump from a bridge, there's no doubt that Lucas will do so without hesitation. Well, not that Bob will do such a thing, but it just goes to show how much influence he has over Lucas. My boy will do anything just to please Bob, and I'm happy that he doesn't hesitate in acknowledging any effort Lucas makes for him. However, no matter how much I like having him in our lives, I still have to face reality sooner or later. That's why I agree when Bob asks me to go out to dinner, so we can finally discuss the topic that we've been trying to avoid for the past few days. Should we keep doing our fake relationship or not? After making sure Lucas is tucked in bed with Bob's help, he and I leave the babysitter and head to the restaurant. We're currently sitting side by side silently. I don't know why Bob isn't saying anything, while I sit here with anticipation and dread. I know I don't want everything to end, but I don't want to trap Bob into this. If he decides that it's good for us to part ways, I have no choice but to let go. I'm not going to let him pretend to be something he's not. From the relationship I have with Tom, I don't want Bob to feel like that with Lucas and me. It will break Lucas's heart, though. Maybe mine as well. I don't know, but I'll just do what I do best to make everything okay again. Work hard and hopefully I'll make it better. But what about me? My mind has been in turmoil for the rest of the day. I'm still not nearing any answers when the waiter takes our orders. A couple of silent beats later, Bob decides to take it upon himself to break the tension. "Sarah, listen," he says as he reaches over, as if wanting to take my hand but thinks better of it, and just takes a napkin and crumples it instead. "I enjoy being with you and Lucas for the past couple of days, but we have to be adults in this and talk about our situation rather than burying it under more pretense." He lets go of the napkin and leans over towards me. "So let's stop beating around the bush. Are we still going to go on with our fake relationship as husband and wife or not?" I knew it. That voice filled with hate and malice sends chills down my spine as both Bob and I look up to see Tom and Candy standing by our table. They look as if they just arrived and are about to pass by our table. My heart drops at the sight of Tom's expression. He heard Bob. Tom's looking at Bob and me with cold eyes and wearing that sneer that I've learned to hate throughout our relationship. "I know that something stinks between you and that guy," he spits out as he nods towards Bob with disdain. "I was also right about you, Sarah. I knew that you can't find any other man like me. You're so heartbroken that you have to make the desperate move and fake a relationship just to get back at me." I bristle at his statement because other than most of what he said is pure jerk anyway. He makes me look like a sad little girl pining over him. Granted, our breakup's been a very nasty business for both of us, but I'm not the one who cheated. Before I can respond, Tom continues, "Wait until the others hear this. Poor Sarah Morgan, feeling bitter and lost after our breakup, that she has to find and probably pay someone to act as her boyfriend in hopes of making me jealous. Ha! What a laugh." From the corner of my eye, I can see that Bob's hand is wringing the life out of the napkin that he's been holding. I know that he's itching to take a shot at Tom's pretty face, but because he respects me and believes in me, he knows that I can handle this little jerk on my own, and that silent support is more than I can ever hope for. "No," I say as calmly as possible. "If you keep my secret, I'll keep yours." Tom snorts. "I have no secrets, you little tramp." My eyebrow raises at that. "Oh, I wonder how did we end up splitting, Tom? The last time I checked, I wasn't the one who was cheating while in a relationship. Now, between the two of us, who's the tramp?" Tom's face reddens in anger and embarrassment. Beside him, Candy has the grace to look away. I glance at Bob and see him smirking and nodding in approval. That only bolsters my spirits. Leaning over, I pat Tom's expensive suit, a gesture I know he hates. "So if you don't tell them this, I won't tell them what a sorry little cheater you are because, thank your lucky stars, I haven't yet. I wonder who they'll support more, me or you. Fine, Tom snarls at us before marching out of the restaurant, pulling a distraught Candy along. As soon as the doors close behind them, I immediately snatch my glass of champagne and gulp it down. I can't believe I did that. I can't even believe I have the strength to do that. It's both invigorating and draining at the same time. Bob reaches forward, and this time takes my hand in his. Sarah, Hey, fancy meeting the two of you here. We both freeze in place and turn to see Sean McMurphy, standing in the place where Tom was. Oh my God, did he hear us? I was having a meeting with one of my clients here. We were just about to leave when I saw you talking with a fellow. Sean explains. By the looks of things, that man isn't happy with the two of you, and try as I might, I can't make out what he's saying. I inwardly sigh in relief. So Sean didn't hear anything. He doesn't know that we're only pretending so Bob can fulfill the stipulation of the will. Sean frowns and looks back at the restaurant's doors, where Tom and Candy made their exit. I wonder what exactly was that all about. Is there any problem with that man? If so, I can certainly help you in that regard. Oh, it's just Sarah's crazy ex, Bob tells him, as he waves his hand dismissively and tries playing it cool. He's just pissed off because of their bad breakup. You know how it is, so whatever he's saying is pure nonsense. I nod eagerly, but I hope not too eagerly. Bob is technically not lying. What Tom's spouting about is more nonsense than anything I've ever heard before, but not surprising, because that's the only thing he's good at. Yes, well, okay then. Sean shrugs and looks at us thoughtfully. I've had my share of relationships, and I can attest that exes can be quite difficult. Sean chuckles, and Bob and I had to force out a knowing chuckle as well. Oh, since I'm already here with you both, Bob can sign the deed later and I'll handle the rest. But are you sure you don't need any hand with that man? Bob shakes his head, his thumb brushing my skin absent-mindedly. Thanks for the help, Sean, but there's nothing to worry about here anymore. Sarah and I are perfectly happy, and I believe she can more than handle that prick. This time, my smile is genuine, and I'm actually really happy with the compliment. Sean nods and smiles at me fondly. I can see that. Sarah is one special woman indeed. Well, I'll take my leave then. Good night to you both. As soon as Sean leaves the restaurant, I finally take a huge sigh of relief. I call for a waiter to refill my glass and down the contents in one gulp again. Hopefully, the night will end with no more surprises or special guests.
Chapter 16. Bob. I feel winded from the emotional roller coaster of anger, pride, surprise, and fear of Tom and Sean's arrival. I barely contain my anger that I have to talk myself countless times to not to stand up and just punch Sarah's ex in the face and screw up that pretty face he's so smug about. Even though I want to mark the jerk's face with my fist, I know that it's not my fight since Sarah and I aren't really a thing, especially when the jerk already knows about us. Punching the crap out of him might get Sarah in trouble, so I just sat there and stew in anger. However, I'm really impressed and proud of how Sarah managed the idiot and sent him leaving. I'm pretty confident that slimy scumbag won't be able to talk if he doesn't want to get their friend's scorn instead of the support he's hoping to garner. When Sean suddenly appeared just moments after Tom had gone, I felt the shock and fear spike between Sarah and me. Even though there's slight relief when he said he didn't make out what were we arguing about, I can't sit still knowing we're almost caught. Despite my cool and calm demeanor, smiling amiably as I watched Sean walk out of the restaurant, my heart's still actually pounding inside of my chest. That was close. A little too close for comfort. Not only did we get busted by Sarah's snooty ex, the sudden appearance of Sean tonight at the same restaurant was almost enough to give me a heart attack. I'm this close to getting the deed to my ranch, and I'll be damned if I get to screw up on the last leg of my progress. I have to make a decision. I know that I won't be able to have Sarah and Lukas for myself. I also know if I were to continue this ruse, being with the two people that have the power to wake something inside of my heart will be some kind of torture to me. That's why I asked Sarah if we can discuss our situation. I'm prepared to let them go because I don't know if I can still control myself with them. I've been having so much fun in their company that I can't count the times I've been daydreaming that we're indeed one real, happy family. And that can ruin everything. Not only with my chances for getting this ranch, but if also I manage to screw up by telling Sarah I want everything to be real now, she'll be spooked, and I'll ruin my relationship with her too. She didn't sign up for this. I don't want to force her into anything. She already has a lot on her plate as it is with that psychotic ex of hers. However, after what just happened right here in the restaurant, I've finally come to a decision. Even if my chances to have a real family in Sarah and Lukas are slim to none, I should at least owe it to myself to acquire the ranch. If after all of this blows over and Sarah and I end our fake relationship, I'll have the ranch to keep me busy. With a busy mind, I won't have to think about the things that I want but can never have. That was a close call, I say, watching as Sarah downs another glass of champagne. We barely managed to dodge that. Although Sean may look happy and jovial on the outside, I've been with the man for so long that I know that he's a little suspicious of us now. I lean over the table, squeezing Sarah's hand to get her attention. I know she's as distraught as I am with the encounters we had, but we need to settle this fast before another surprise visitor comes to our table. I know that we're going to be discussing whether it's still good for us to continue our pretense or not, but I want to make sure that Sean doesn't discover that we aren't actually married. Sarah sighs and nods. I'm sorry, Bob. If it wasn't for Tom... I shake my head at that. Don't, Sarah. It's not your fault that your ex is such a bitter prick. Taking a deep breath through the nose, I tell her my decision. And I'm also sorry because of this. We have to continue our fake relationship. Let's keep everything under wraps. I don't want to take any chances just in case Sean will pop out of nowhere and discover that we're not together anymore. I don't want to lose something that's very important to me. I don't know if I mean the ranch or something else by that statement. But right now I'm on the verge of wanting both. No, I get it, Bob. And it's fine. I'm okay with continuing our pretense for a little longer. I may not have much, but I treasure what little I have. Like Lukas. So I understand where you're coming from. My admiration for Sarah is already high up, and I didn't think it's even possible for her to go any higher. But she just did, after saying that. It's not only her honesty and sincerity about the matter that speaks to me, but it's also that I know it's true. She's not only saying that because she wants to say she understands, but she really does understand what I'm going through, from one hard-working folk to the other. I smile and give her hand one last thankful squeeze as the waiter arrives with our orders. You don't know how grateful I am to you, Sarah. I really appreciate that you understand how securing the ranch is everything to me. Because when everything ends between us, I'll have something to occupy myself so I won't go crazy, I want to add. But instead, I just reach for my champagne glass instead. To us, I say, raising my glass to hers. She gives me a small, hesitant smile before she follows suit. To us. Chapter 17. Bob. It's been a couple of days since the restaurant incident, and Sarah's place is like a second home to me. I spend some of my days and most of my nights at her house. I stay in the guest bedroom, of course. I share meals with her and Lukas, help the boy with his homework, and watch Discovery Science together. I even tuck him in bed a time or two. No matter how hard I try to stop myself from yearning for things to be real between Sarah and me, I know that I'm fighting a losing battle. Because even if I do my best to stay busy at the ranch, my mind will always wander towards them. Things like how Lukas is doing at school, hoping Sarah not skipping her break times, and eagerly waiting for the day to be over so I can head on over to the diner, wait for her shift to end, and take her home. When Lukas is home from school, I'll then help Sarah prepare dinner or check up with Lukas, like a real family, and I want it. I want it so bad that I stop fighting the yearning to be with them. The moment I stop fighting and start accepting the fact that I'm actually falling head over heels in love with Sarah and Lukas, it suddenly feels as if a huge boulder of burden rolled off my shoulders. I feel lighter and happier. Instead of telling myself that I shouldn't enjoy my time with Sarah and Lukas, I now savor each and every moment. The moments I spend with them fire me up while I go back to my ranch and work. I've never been happier in my life, but there's only one stinker in this whole thing. Okay, maybe two. One, I still have to face the reality sooner or later that Sarah and I are still pretending. For me, I don't care anymore, but all I know is that what I feel now is true. Two, I can't help but wonder if this is still about making Tom jealous for Sarah and nothing else. The suspicion is growing with each and every invitation Sarah's been giving me recently. And with each party, I can see Tom and Candy hovering not far from us. The way Tom is throwing daggers at us with his eyes is hard to miss. So far, there's been no talk about our fake relationship, not even a rumor or a whisper. I think that the little punk is really scared to lose any of their friends' regard for him. It also didn't escape my notice that Candy is being more silent than usual as well. Even if our secret is safe, try as I might, I can't help but feel hurt that after everything, Sarah's still going to go back to that little jerk. Ever since I decide that I want to be with Sarah and Lukas for real now, I try my very best to be there for them, to provide for them, silently hoping that maybe someday I'll also have a place in their hearts just as they have in mine. But the constant reminder that Sarah just wants me as a tool to make her ex jealous is getting painful. I know that she already said that after that one night we made love, but I'm hoping that I can still change her mind and have her look my way even for just a glance. As soon as we leave from yet another party, I've been thinking that it's probably time I cut my losses while I'm ahead. If Sarah's still going to hold on to that ex of hers, then I'll just have to give up and stop making this pretend relationship work. I can't help but mutter bitterly as we settle in my car so I can drive her home. Since you're holding up your end of the bargain with our pretense, maybe now we can just focus on making Tom jealous since that's your priority. Sean will be sending the deed sooner or later, so I won't be staying the night today. I'll head home and wait for the papers to come. Sarah turns to me while buckling her seatbelt. It's not like that, Bob, I swear. Don't be like that. I want to believe her, I really do, but there's just something in me that thinks it's too good to be true. I sigh and start the car. Well, let's hold off on whether or not this relationship should be real for now and just focus on making your stupid ex jealous, okay? Sarah frowns at me, and I can tell she's a little pissed at my tone. Fine, she says in a slightly raised voice before shifting in her seat so she can stare out of the window. I shake my head and lean over to turn on the radio, hoping it'll drown out the tension that's forming inside of the vehicle. Even after that, I'm still not sure what to make of Sarah. Her intentions are still a blur to me, and there's this little voice inside of my head that says I might still be a pawn to her in making Tom jealous. Deep in my heart, I wish it's not so. She did say that she's not using me, that this isn't the case, but the insecurities inside of me are wriggling like a black mass of darkness, threatening to eat up all the happiness and hope. I don't know what to do. How do I figure out if she's telling the truth or that she might be lying to me? It's probably best if I don't spend the night at her place again. It'll give me time to think about things. And maybe if she's not going to invite me to these ridiculous parties just so she's going to rub my presence in Tom's face, then I can finally put my mind at ease that she's telling the truth. If not, I don't know what I'll do if she's lying.
I hope you're enjoying this audiobook by Vic Savon. If you want to keep hearing more audiobooks, then please hit that subscribe button and like the video. It may seem insignificant, but the more people that subscribe, the easier it is to produce more audiobooks in the future. So please, help us out and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for listening, and now back to your book.
Chapter 18. Sarah. I clutched the phone in my hand, debating whether or not to call Bob. I guess I can just go alone. I shake my head in frustration. What if he wants to come? What if he wants to spend time with me too? I sigh to myself, a little too loudly. I shouldn't be overthinking this. I got invited to another party, and I'll just ask him if he wants to come. No big deal. I remember the last conversation we had about him feeling like I'm using him. I admit, at first it was one of the reasons I agreed to his deal. I wanted to show Tom that I'm happy with someone else, that I'm doing much better. But I actually like Bob. I mean, we've been friends for a while. We always talk at the diner, and I feel really comfortable around him. I don't care about Tom anymore. I don't care whether he's shacking up with Candy or not. That's their problem. Mom, you're doing it again. Lucas's voice breaks through my thoughts. What? I turn and see him seated on the couch with a book, staring at me with an eyebrow raised. You're doing it again. You're pacing, he informs me. Oh, I didn't realize that. What's wrong? He closes his book and leans in towards me in that way that we see therapists do in movies. It's really sweet and funny. I wonder what shows he's been watching lately. Nothing, sweetie? I smile, trying my best to reassure him. Just trying to make a decision. Are you sure? He asks. Positive. I flash my brightest smile at him. He looks at me for over a minute, trying to read me. Okay, if you say so, he says as he goes back to his book. I look at my son, amazed at how much he has grown. It feels just like yesterday when I was still carrying him in my arms as a baby. Now he's this smart little boy who's always caring for mommy. I decide to go to my bedroom so as not to disturb Lukas anymore. He doesn't need to hear our conversation. Taking a deep breath, I gather all my strength into dialing his number. He picks up after the third ring. I try not to think too much about it, although he usually answers my calls in the first ring. I hear a grunt at the other side of the room. I look at the clock on my bedside table. It's already 2:00 in the afternoon. Has he just woken up? Well, I start, already feeling bad about even asking. You see, there's this party tonight. I hear him exhale and I wait for a moment. Only silence. So, I continue. Well, I'm calling you to see if you want to go with me. To the party. Again, silence. I push the phone to my ear trying to hear anything from the other side of the line. Bob? I ask after a few moments of silence. Has he fallen asleep again? I'm not up to it, he finally says. My heart drops. I really wanted to see him and to spend time with him. We had fun during the other parties, and I really miss those times. Oh, that's too bad. It's just that some of the guys there might wonder where you are, so. I'm not going if you're just going to use me to make him jealous, Bob responds angrily. I'm shocked. He had never raised his voice like this before. What are you saying? I respond, a little annoyed. I'm done with this, he snaps at me. I hear a thud on his end of the line, like he just punched something hard. I'm so frustrated at him. How could he really think that that's all I'm doing? It's as if he doesn't know me at all. And isn't he the one using me anyway? He's the one who proposed this deal so he can keep the ranch. He started all this in the first place, and now he's saying, I'm using him? Fine. I scream into the receiver, not knowing what to say. I'm too frustrated to even think straight. God, this man could be so exasperating sometimes. Fine, he screams back, making me hold the phone away. Whatever you want to think, that's on you. Even though that's not really what I'm doing. I just wanted to spend time with you again. I say, tears starting to pool on the edge of my eyes. He goes quiet for a second, and I hear him sigh, first in frustration, and then in what sounds like sadness. I don't believe you, he tells me quietly. His voice makes me stop. He sounds so serious, so down, so sad. I open my mouth to comfort him, but no words come out. I've known Bob for a while now, and the only time I've heard him sound like that was when his father died. When he lost his only family in this world, he felt alone and miserable. "Bob," I stutter, my voice shaking from the tears falling down my cheeks. "How do I make this right? Can I even make this right? Are we breaking up?" I ask, my voice barely a whisper. I can feel my heart pounding in my chest. I hear movements in the other line. Sounds like he's pacing himself. "Yes, we're breaking up." Bob hangs up before I could answer. It's a good thing, though, I don't know how to answer. "We're breaking up." Those 3 words ring in my head, repeating itself over and over and over. I sit at the edge of my bed as I try to process what just happened. We're breaking up. It's a little funny how upset I am over this. It wasn't even a real relationship to begin with. It was all a ruse to get what we both wanted. I tell myself that everything is going to be all right. I'm a strong woman, and I knew nothing was ever going to happen with Bob anyway. I try to convince myself that I'm all right as tears escape my eyes. I can still hear his voice. We're breaking up.
Chapter 19. Bob. We're breaking up, I say before hanging up, not giving her a chance to say anything. It was a hard choice. It took all my strength to say that, and I don't think I had any strength left in me to listen to what she had to say. I'm just weak when it comes to her. I might cave and take back what I said, or she might say something more painful and I'll just crumble. Either way, hanging up was the best option for me. We're breaking up. Those 3 words echo in my head as I make my way to the kitchen. It's been a couple of days since I last spoke to Sarah, since I broke it off with her. I open the fridge and pull out another tub of peanut butter chocolate chip ice cream, the only good thing left in this world. I take a look inside the almost empty fridge, only a pitcher of water and a few pieces of tomatoes. Yeah, I've been meaning to go to the groceries to stock up. This is my 3rd tub. It's been a hard couple of days. I'm sure my new friends here, Ben and Jerry, will understand. I walk back to the living room where I've decided to camp myself out for 2 days now. My bedroom isn't as entertaining as I like it to be. I press play on the remote and continue the movie I was watching. Blue Valentine. Now I finally get the appeal of Netflix. I haven't really been big on watching movies, but lately it's all I've been doing. It's awesome how much there are to choose from. Doesn't matter if I don't move from this spot. I can just point and click. I can live like this forever. Just me, Ben, and Jerry, and Netflix. That's all I need. This is my 8th movie of the day. I know it's too much. I don't even know why I'm watching this kind of movie, really. Maybe because I can relate to them. Or maybe because I'm just a stupid jerk who wants to torture himself more. Ryan Gosling is really a handsome guy. I think of his other movies as I dig in on my ice cream. Later, I notice a woman in the background that looks a little like Sarah. No, Sarah is way prettier than her. I shake my head to get rid of those thoughts. I hate that I still keep thinking about her. I'm the one who ended it, remember? Even though I was the one who started this whole thing, I was the one who asked Sarah to pretend to be with me. It still hurts. I know Sarah had every right to just use me to make Tom jealous because, technically, I was using her to get the ranch. But I still feel crushed, like my heart has been ripped out of my chest. Yeah, it's a bit hypocritical of me to be heartbroken about that now. I try to concentrate on the movie, but for some reason, everything just reminds me of Sarah. The girl has the same top as Sarah, only in a different color and design, of course. The background reminds me of the time we went to the park. Even the smallest things remind me of her. It sucks. I know I did the right thing breaking it off with her. I'm glad I did it. I can't be with someone who would just use me like that. Sarah is clearly not over her ex yet, and I don't want to get caught up in that. I mean, why else would she keep bringing me to all those parties? She just wants to show me off and to rub our relationship on Tom's face. It's just a game they're playing. I just happen to be one of her pieces. In the end, I'll just be the loser, alone and forgotten while Sarah and Tom get back together. Whatever you want to think, that's on you. Even though that's not really what I'm doing. I just wanted to spend time with you again. I remember her saying that day, she sounded so sincere. I've known Sarah for a while, and I know she isn't the type of person who uses others for her own gain. I know she isn't the type that would lie to other people to get what she wants. She's a decent person. Are we breaking up? Her voice almost cracked when she asked me that. At that moment, I almost broke down and cried. I miss her. I miss her smile, her laugh, how her eyes look when she's watching me and Lukas play. I miss the way she would place her hand on my arm when we're at parties. I miss her smell, her taste. All uniquely Sarah. Did I really make the right decision? Did I do the right thing? I miss her so badly. I placed the tub on the floor, no longer having the appetite for it. At this moment I realize how miserable I am without her and Lukas. How much I need them in my life. How much I love them. How much I love her. It took me a couple of days, but now I'm sure I love her. I love Sarah Morgan. I can't believe what an idiot I've been. How could I not realize sooner? I don't care about the ranch, not anymore. I don't care if I lose everything. I don't care if she still has feelings for Tom. I don't mind waiting. I'll do whatever she wants. I'll do everything and anything for her. Everything seems to be getting brighter, clearer and clearer as my epiphany hits me, almost knocking me over. It's so obvious and ridiculous how I didn't see it earlier. Sarah has been the one person I've always been comfortable with. She knows more about me than anyone else in the world. She makes me happy. I stand, unable to contain the excitement. What should I do now? I start thinking of ways to get her back, to confess my true feelings. I hope she'll still take me back after everything. I know I must have hurt her too. I hear a knock on the door and I'm a little annoyed at the disturbance. I'm a little busy planning something here. What? I say as I open the door, not expecting to see Sarah at all. Yet there she is, standing before me.
Chapter 20. Sarah. During the first few days of our breakup, I try to justify why I shouldn't call Bob back. His words and accusations hurt me when he's using me the same way I'm using him. So I'm better off without him, despite how painful his absence makes me feel. But as day 3 passes by, Bob interrupts my thoughts more and more. I find myself wondering what he could be doing. Could he be hurting as much as I am? Could he be missing me too? On day 4, my resolve is crumbling. I understand now that I love him. It's the only logical reason why everything feels so painful. His words, the breakup, and this distance. However, knowing what I know now doesn't really fix things. Bob still isn't talking to me, so I don't know if he feels the same. A hopeful part of me thinks that he does. Why else would he hate the fact that I'm using him to make Tom jealous? I need to know. Day 5 comes, and I find myself heading to his place armed with that need. With a knock on his door, I steel myself from whatever reaction that Bob might have. He needs to know how much I love him. The door opens, and I see Bob looking like he's seen better days. His eyes are red-rimmed and his hair is mussed. There's also a stain on his left cheek that I could only assume is chocolate. "Hey," I shyly greet him. "Sarah?" Bob whispers my name in surprise. At least he didn't slam the door in my face. That's a good sign, right? "I came here so we could talk. Can I come inside?" Of course. Bob immediately moves out of the way, and I enter his home. Thankfully, despite Bob's appearance, his place looks clean. As I walk into the living room with Bob following me, I psych myself not to back out. Then I turn around to face him. "So what did you—" Bob asks before I cut him off. "I'm in love with you. I promise. I will not see Tom anymore. I'm over him. He and Candy can do whatever they want. I'm so sorry for what I put you through. Despite spilling out what sounds like word vomit, Bob seems to understand what I mean as his eyes light up. In one swift motion, Bob grabs my waist as his lips fall on mine. My arms find their way around his shoulders, and I play with the hair near his nape. His tongue sneaks its way into my mouth, and Bob deepens our kiss. It takes a couple of minutes for the need for air to come, and we break the kiss. Bob rests his forehead against mine and whispers, "I was hoping this would happen. I'm in love with you too." My eyes widen at his confession. While this is what I had been hoping for, hearing him say that he's in love with me too still stuns me. I don't care about the deed to the ranch anymore. I just want to be with you and your son forever. That's when the tears fall, because I know how much he wanted that ranch. So hearing him give up what he wants because I'm that important to him makes me feel emotional. "Hey, don't cry," he says, smiling widely. "I'm just so happy. I'd hoped that you'd feel the same way, but hearing you say exactly that feels so amazing. With our feelings for each other out in the open, we don't feel the particular need to hide anymore." Sitting on his couch, we exchange kisses, trying to make up for the ones that we have missed when we were on a break. As I sit there in Bob's arms, I know that all is right again in the world because I'm with the man that I love. At least until Bob stops kissing me. I let out an involuntary whine from being forced apart from his lips, pouting despite knowing how childish I'll look. I glare at him, which makes Bob laugh. "Don't get mad. I was just wondering, since we're back together now, why don't we go out with Lukas to celebrate?" Hearing his idea improves my mood significantly. The fact that Bob is including Lukas into this relationship makes me feel even better, since it reaffirms that I made the right choice. "Sure, what did you have in mind?" "Well, it's still early out, and since it's the weekend, we could maybe go to the park." "Sure, Lukas loves the park." Plans made, Bob gets ready as I wait for him. When he emerges back down, freshly showered, I can't help but find him irresistible. So I grant him another passionate kiss. "What was that for?" "I just find you very hot right now," I reply, while lacing our fingers together. With a chuckle and a nod, we head out and drive back home to get Lukas. An hour and a half later, we're on our way to the park. Lukas might not have been very vocal about it, but I know that he also missed Bob. And it clearly shows how wide my son's smile is as we walk into the park hand in hand. When we find a shade where we could sit comfortably, we set up our picnic blanket. "So, little buddy, what do you want to do today?" Bob asked Lukas a few minutes later. "Play catch," Lukas answers immediately. Lukas then pulls his favorite ball from his backpack and offers it to Bob. "Play catch it is," Bob agrees. The two of them walk to the open space to play as I appreciate the beauty of the surrounding nature. It's springtime, and the gardens are in bloom. Birds are flying overhead, and love is in the air. I laugh a little at how mushy that sounds, but it's the truth. I guess love makes people mushier. As I sit there, watching Bob bond with my son, I can't help but feel like we're a real family. Despite admitting our feelings for each other a little while ago, everything feels perfect. And when Bob looks at me, with all the adoration and love that he wants to give me, I couldn't be more happy and thankful for how blessed I am.